BBC Radio 4.
Armando Iannucci's Charm Offensive, presented by Armando Iannucci.
Thank you very much. Welcome once again to Charm Offensive, the show that the Puzzler magazine once described as an anagram of Chav Smirnoff. And we start with an update on the latest situation here at the BBC after Monday's strike forced extraordinary changes to Radio 4's schedules. For example, the Today programme was actually replaced by a jazz show with Kenneth Clarke. Actually true. Just think of that phrase, a jazz show with Kenneth Clarke. There are 3 terrifying words in that sentence. Possibly as terrifying as the 3 words you and yours. But on the plus side, at 8:30, the Today programme was also replaced by an old edition of I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue, though fortunately one that had Jeff Hoon on the panel, and which featured a round called Debate the Prospects of Electoral Reform in the Light of the Postal Vote Scandal, to the tune of Slap Bang Wallop What a Picture. Anyway, please welcome tonight's My Charm Offensive team, Clive Anderson, Chris Langham and Joe Brand.
Hello.
And I've got to start by asking you, how did you cope with the news blackout on Monday? Chris?
Well, because of the news blackout, I didn't realise there was a strike.
I stayed at home just shouting scab, 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 that little girl on the test card. Well, I think the strikers have taken a wrong moment, because you know how the miners went at the wrong time, when there was a big sort of supplies of coal? So the strike ultimately fell. Well, there's these huge supplies of programmes that they can bring out, and they can get the way through, and they can even put old news on, because we wouldn't notice, would we? If they put news from 18 months ago, you'd listen. If you pick up a paper that's a few days old, you read it for a bit, no, it seems a bit familiar, but you carry on anyway. The crossword seems a bit easier, but...
Well, what defeated me was the fact that they have so many programmes, so many classics like One Foot in the Grave, that they still have to resort to Kenneth Clarke's Jazz Great.
They haven't quite got around to repeating any of my programmes in that crucial...
I was actually drunk. I thought it was you, but it must have...
But he is a political figure. I mean, he is possibly going to stand as leader of the Conservative Party. So there should be, tomorrow, or the next time there's a strike on, they'll have to have, you know, David Davis doing a programme about the Sex Pistols or something, just as a balance.
Skiffle with Oliver Letwin. And did you notice any of the sort of the changes to the schedule that had been...
I was drunk, didn't notice a thing. But surely the biggest tragedy of the day was that Chris Moyles crossed the picket line and his bloody show was still on.
Oh!
Some support out there for you.
Yeah.
Chris Moyles.
I listened to his show and I thought he had been replaced on that day by a recently microwaved turd.
Why is he so unpopular? Why does nobody like...
Who is this Chris Moyle?
I may be wrong, but I think moil is a Jewish term for the person who comes around and does circumcisions. I think.
You're in the right ballpark.
We want a bit closer than that if you're going to do circumcision on me, please.
So, Joe, what do you have against Chris Moyles?
He's sexist, misogynist, dumpling of a man. And I don't like anyone that weighs the same as me. They get on my nerves.
Okay, well, as we've discussed, certain shows did get on air eventually. Terry Wogan crossed the picket line, insisting that the BBC had a charter-given right to broadcast Blarney. But certain shows went on without their usual presenters. For example, the only way to get Women's Hour on air was to have it presented by the Army. The BBC sent troops in first thing Monday morning. Here's a clip from the programme featuring a discussion with Jenny Bristow, commissioning editor of the online publication Spiked, and Belinda Phipps, chief executive of the National Childbirth Trust. They're discussing the pros and cons of breastfeeding with Gunner Sergeant Harry Donaldson of the 5th Norfolk Fusiliers.
Belinda! Why do you think there is so little knowledge about the health benefits of breastfeeding?
I think more people are aware there are health benefits, but I think what people don't realise is how quickly that they start. You only have to feed your baby for a day or two.
The World Health Authority recommends 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding. Why do so many women give up?
We are a very unsupportive society as far as breastfeeding is concerned.
Shouldn't we change the way we see breastfeeding women?
I think we should view the way that we see feeding babies in a different way.
Oh, I see.
The issue needs to become depoliticised.
Well, strong feelings there on both sides. Jenny, Belinda, thank you both very much.
Okay, well, later on we'll be asking if they can get a Mexican into space. Why can't they get anyone black into Buckinghamshire? But now, privacy, with intense speculation about Blair's bad back and pictures of Saddam in pants. We come on to the vexed question of media intrusion into the private lives of public figures. It's come to the point where if you see a headline on a placard saying Victoria Tube Strike, you can't tell whether this refers to a London transport dispute or a further breakdown in the Beckhams' marriage. It seems nothing is sacred, forcing Tony Blair to ask this week whether we're losing respect for people in authority. So the question is, why should we listen to this moaning old hunchback? Where should we start? Saddam's pants or privacy in general?
Saddam's pants.
Yeah. They were big pants. Well,
They were.
very big. They were big pants. And when I saw it in the Sun, I first thought page 3 of Oxford, their standards are slipping. But then before I recognised who it was, And he looks good, I think. Do you think so? Didn't you? Did you?
I thought so. And
It was
I thought
a turn on.
They were roomy enough pants to have a rather large weapon of mass destruction in them.
Clive, what is the legal... Because you used to be a barrister, didn't you?
Yes.
What is the legal...
You still are a barrister, aren't you?
Yes. That's 100 guineas you're up to already. But, yes, the legal aspects are serious. Yeah, I think it's... Yes.
Is there something in the Geneva Convention about not showing people in pants?
Yes, it's a definite breach of the, in fact, definite breaches of the Geneva Convention. But unfortunately, the Sun are not signatories to the Geneva Convention.
All right. What's the public... Presumably the argument is that it's in the public interest. But I fail to see what is the public interest in...
You were waxing lyrical over it. You were excited by the picture, enthusing over his underpants.
I'm over that now. I'm fickle in love.
Why did he spot the photographer? Why wasn't there that look in his eyes of, oi, you?
Oh, they're all posed. They're all posed, those photos. It's like Hello Magazine. He got some...
Saddam Hussein invites hello into his beautiful cell.
But if he's done a deal with OK Magazine, he'll be able to sue them like Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas.
Catherine Zeta-Jones claims that the reason why she was so upset about these photographs appearing in either OK or Hello was because they showed her eating. But I would have thought the thing that she was most nervous of us seeing was her marrying a giant dried apricot.
That's right. There's too much respect for celebrities, I think. Too much respect for them, and there should be more invasion of their privacy because they should get what they asked for. They were the ones that decided to be in the public eye, and I mean, like Yehudi Menuhin, for example. He used playing the violin as a way of becoming famous.
Yeah.
And I think he deserves everything that ever came to him.
Well, talking of things that are no longer in the public interest, is it heartening that no one is watching Celebrity Love Island?
I was asked to go on Celebrity Love Island.
I was invited to go on Celebrity Love Handles, but
I was asked to go on Celebrity Bald Dwarf Island. And I haven't replied yet.
Who else is there?
well, I didn't want to... They said they came to me first. I was definitely invited to be on the farm.
Were you?
Well, I thought I was going to be one of the celebrities, but they wanted me to be the back end of a pig. Which apparently would have been more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Well, not to be outdone by the media rush to publish the most intimate pictures of celebrities caught unawares in private moments. You know the sort of photo in Heat magazine. Look, Jack Straw in a supermarket buying a haddock. Charm Offensive has just published its own set of photos of international celebrities and Radio 4 presenters caught unawares. Here is Vaughan Savage with an aural description of the set.
Who's this? It's Elton John on a shop mobility scooter. I spy with my little eye Gordon Ramsay leaving the Met Bar head first, dressed as a baby. Look out, Colleen, it's Wayne Rooney shouting at someone's guide dog. Oh, what a crazy day. Literally, it's Darren Day riding his bike into a swan. Spotted. Ross Kemp eating goldfish out of a pond in a park. Gotcha. It's Winston Churchill pretending to be a statue. Oi, cheeky. It's Nicholas Witchell laughing at roadkill. Shh. Which ex-Beatle has been caught off guard with a face like a giant testicle? It's Sir Paul McCartney, as usual. Fat Watch. It's DJ Chris Moyles washing the word scab off his car.
Well, thank you, Vaughan. Now, throughout tonight's show, we're going to be pushing the issue of privacy to its limits because we've hooked the panellists up to a new piece of software that allows us to hear their and my own innermost thoughts. So listen out during the rest of the show for the sound of what's going on in our heads as we do the show. As I say, it's a technically wizardy thing hooked up to another.
I hope no one finds out about me attacking that tramp on the way here.
Hooked up to it for a private link.
Thinks. I bought some bee's knees the other day. They were rubbish.
It's a shame that I throw up when I get nervous. Particularly as I'm quite nervous about sex.
Thinks. What's that on Chris Langham's head? Oh, it's a seagull. Wonder if I should tell him.
Thinks. I hope no one spots that this is a wig.
Thinks. I wish I could get a wig like Chris's.
Yeah, and then appeared in Godzilla, where he played the Japanese sea. Now, before we push on...
Sorry, I was miles away.
Yeah, I saw you having a fight with a seagull. Now, before we push on, it's time to let you know about next week's show. Next week's show will be coming from London. If you want to come to the show, it's quite straightforward. Live in London. It is, after all, the centre of cultural life in this country. If you've got a problem with that, then stay in your regions, stuck talking to children in your house, rather than how we Londoners prefer it, which is on our mobile while trundling home in a diesel-powered cattle truck with a gob full of brie bought at 10 o'clock at night from a semi-shuttered upper crust. And the following week, we'll be going to Birmingham to demonstrate the BBC's commitment to the North. But actually, this week, there has been a bit of an outcry from people who live outside London about the new BBC weather maps. Now, apparently, these people are so simple and confused. They have a problem with the fact that the maps have Britain slanting three-dimensionally away from us so that London dominates for all to see. So let's sort this out once and for all. This is absolutely true. What we've done is we're going to talk now to the man responsible for the recent changes. Charm Offensive actually managed to do a bit of proper research this week using additional money raised through the sacking of 4,000 BBC employees. It's absolutely true. What we've done is we've tracked down the graphics expert who's actually responsible for the changes. So please welcome, from the BBC Weather Centre, Mr. Neil Kirkwood. Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much for coming on, Neil.
It's a pleasure.
And do you want to just start by explaining, first of all, the thinking behind the changes?
Sure. Well, you know, technology moves on in every area, even in weather forecasting. And, you know, the days of magnetic symbols...
Hang on, just ignore me. Just kept...
the same angles of Nazi salute, you collaborator.
Just carry on.
Right,
sorry,
as I say, technology does move on, and the 3D map does actually represent Britain. Technically, it's technically accurate, and it's technically accurate, as I say. And
it's far proportionally way too big, and we won't stand for it.
Right, I'm not.
Our audience are getting our middle-class white audience. Are getting slightly roused here. Sorry,
I'm not really sure what to do.
well, maybe.
I have a license for you, he-witch.
He's been shouted at poshly.
I can't be responsible for, you know, that.
You made the North look tiny, like a doll's house with some small fruit. Give us a big North.
This is getting out of hand.
I wasn't expecting anything like this. I can't really. I'm just going to go.
The front. They've seized the graphic designer. They're carrying him aloft their middle-class arms. They're taking him outside. They're painting. They're painting rain on him. They've taken him outside and they're constructing a giant wicker cloud. I've never seen so much wicker. There is a sale on at Habitat, and they're setting him on fire. This is happening outside the studio, I hasten to add, not inside. You can't burn people inside the studio. There's health and safety issues, and that would be irresponsible. Yet he's alight. The graphic designer is ablaze, and all around him the white people are cheering and shouting out the temperature at which he burns. In both centigrade and our old friend Fahrenheit. Well, I've never seen anything like that. That is a complete breakdown of law and order and of basic human decency. If only we had a barrister and a former psychiatric nurse on the panel to discuss. Chris, any thoughts?
These guys are still on fire.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Intermittent showers are predicted in 3 weeks' time, so
I think someone should put him out, or at least get some sausages.
Okay, we'll push on. And now, this week, 60% of pubs dropped their happy hours in an effort to curb binge drinking. So, to commemorate this loss, we'll be publishing a list of the remaining 40% of pubs on our website, which somehow we have. And also, at this point, instituting our own Happy Minute on the radio. The next minute's actually a free-for-all, a chance for the team to forget about the week's news and just tell any old jokes. Absolutely, there's absolutely no holds barred, just any old jokes.
When you say happy minute,
yes,
a minute is a very long time.
Yes, in politics. Yeah.
Well, in happy.
Anyway.
I think if you wanted to have a happy minute, I think Chris Langham is very much the man to present it.
It'll seem longer.
What's black and blue and green and red all over? Piers Morgan beaten up in the back of a green van.
2 snakes in the jungle. And one of them says, "Are we poisonous or what?" And the other one says, "I don't know why." He says, "No, it's nothing, I just bit my tongue."
I like jokes. Knock, knock, who's there? Doctor. Doctor who? How did you guess? Was it my terrible gurning? One for regular listeners.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting sheep.
Interrupting. Okay, time's up. Back to work. On to Europe now. The chances are that with the European Constitution being voted against by France this weekend and the continued disharmony between Britain and the rest of
What's
Europe...
so good about sliced bread, anyway?
balance of power away...
Thinks. Titmus, Luce and Cosgrave. Problem, only 2 bullets. Solution, both into Cosgrave.
Thinks, I should never have eaten that whole ham.
Thinks, where do you dump old skips?
Thinks, strip mining, if it was like strip poker. Oh, I can't find any coal.
Not uninteresting. Now we move on to the vexed question of age. Michael Howard has stood down from the leadership of the Tory party on the grounds that at 68 he will be too old to lead it into the next election. No, Michael, it's because you'll be too rubbish to lead it. Well, Tory MP George Osborne has ruled himself out of standing for that leadership on the grounds that at 33 he's too young. So I'd like to ask the team, how old do you have to be too old these days?
I think if you can't stand, you shouldn't stand.
I think, you see, politicians, it's always politics with them. So when he says he's too old, that's just so that Kenneth Clarke won't take over from him, because he's older than he is. So he's saying, I'm too old, therefore Ken Clarke can't do it. And he has to be stuck presenting mere radio programmes, which is, as we know, the lowest form of life.
But surely that means if Michael Howard steps down, that means a Radio 4 programme is destined for him then.
Pick of the Week, which I think is the name of the leadership contest anyway, so... It's,
or Stop the Week, which I think was their asylum policy. But I am disturbed by the whole age. I mean, for the first time in this series, I'm surrounded by a panel who are all older than me, so that's fantastic.
We're not older than your material, though.
No. I mean, do you want to join the fight to stave off old age? I mean, there was an item this week saying that 60% of boys feel that they will at some point have to undergo cosmetic surgery because they're unhappy with their appearance. 60% of boys.
How bizarre.
Well,
women are having plastic surgery on their downstairs bits, which I find bizarre as well.
And talked through by Vanessa Feltz, which I find equally bizarre.
I think it's utterly pointless because I think every woman's vagina looks like Sir Bernard Ingham, if you ask me. So what is the point of trying to make it look like something else?
John Sargent.
Yes.
Why did I pick on him? I don't know why I picked on him. It's obvious. It's obviously something subconscious in me.
About you and John.
Yes.
And where do you think we'll be going with things like cloning and developments in technology? I only say that because while we're discussing future medical breakthroughs, we should maybe look at other advances that are coming our way. This is absolutely true. A leading futurologist predicted this week that we might be able to come up with computer systems that have emotions by 2020, and that this would actually contribute to air safety. Because, he explained, airplanes would be programmed to be even more terrified of crashing than passengers. Meaning that they would do whatever possible to stay airborne. But I ask you, who would you rather have in charge, a pilot or a hysterical computer? Which could decide in its panic that the only way to gain height is to jettison as much weight as possible.
But computers already have emotions. If you try and get a sort of basic function done, like, print this document for me, I'm in a hurry, it's like a sort of recalcitrant teenager. It'll come up with lots of reasons why it won't do it. There's not enough memory, or printers out of ink. You haven't got, what's one I had the other day? You don't have enough privileges in order to... What do I have to earn? Do I have
Never heard anybody describe you as someone who's not had enough privileges.
Anyway, they have emotions already.
I've got a sat-nav in my car that says, and in 100 yards, turn right. And if you ignore her, she says, oh, do what you like. I don't know why you bother asking me.
That's a sat-nav.
Go your own way. Yeah. Good luck. I don't care. I'm reading a book.
I was just reading this thing the other day that they've actually identified the bit of the brain that makes you sarcastic.
Oh, yeah.
We've just identified the bit of your brain that makes you sarcastic. Oh, that's very clever.
But they're always doing this now. They've got these sort of... Everything's now genetic, and they found the bit of you that makes you homosexual, the bit that makes you sarcastic, the bit that makes you the cheery personality. They can completely recreate Graham Norton just on a Petri dish. It's fantastic.
Could you have an operation to enlarge your sarcasm gland? It'd be called a Paxmandectomy.
But how do they prove that? How can they could remove that gene and then produce this child who's incapable of anything beyond heavy irony?
On now to our final section tonight, which is titled, It's All in the Title. And as the title suggests, it's all about the titles of television programmes in which, because TV execs think we're all thick, the entire contents of the programme have to be described in the title. For example, on Channel 5 this week was The Boy with the Incredible Brain, followed by The Woman with a 14-stone tumour. Absolutely true. You know the sort of title, the man who swallowed himself. The child who burped lesbians. You come across any of these titles?
Yeah, I like them. I like them explained. The man who appeared in a documentary.
The man who literally had a child in his eye.
The woman with a boy growing inside her. Oh, right, she's pregnant.
Jonathan Aitken, the lying liar who lied.
When Nazis go bad.
Now, I have a theory that these titles are so bereft of imagination that we could come up with them in our sleep, or the next best thing, using our studio audience. So, to see if my theory works, we're going to ask the audience to become a random programme title generator. What they've done is they've written arbitrary words on pieces of card, and our team are gathering them all up. That presupposes there's a team. Yeah, Vaughan. Vaughan is our radio gimp.
Sadly, our team's all been made redundant by the cost-cutting exercise of the BBC.
We're going to gather them all up, and then we're going to arbitrarily pick words out of this pile at random, in no order, to produce what I believe will make perfectly good programme titles. So let's see what we can come up with. Here we are. Here's one. Scottish vegetables in colour. I know exactly what that programme's about now. And in fact, I might watch it.
This is almost literally the first few bits of paper I picked up. Naked dogging slush jelly.
On 4.
I think that might be on 5, but...
Clive Anderson's Gorgonzola worms.
I'm sorry, that's just a note from my doctor, I don't know.
Joe Brand presents Hebrew Smegma Wonderland.
Dwarf Army Road Rage.
Inappropriately large exhumation.
This has just been written up, but what does this mean? DIY for amputees.
Too late.
I mean, we could go on for hours on this.
We have.
We could go on for hours for this, but actually let's leave the final word to radio. Following the controversy of last week's TV weather graphics, Radio 4 are bracing themselves for more complaints as a result of their new weather forecast that's launched this week with added sound effects.
It's 6:05 and time for a weather forecast with Joe Farrow. Morning, Joe.
Good morning. It is a bit of a nippy start this morning. We've still got our northerly winds across the country. We have also got a few showers for the north-east coast of England.
Oh, why I?
We're going to pull down towards East Anglia.
My lovely sister.
As we go through the morning. For Scotland, we have got some bright spells.
Hello.
To start the day in the south.
Hello.
And temperatures of only 9 Celsius, so feeling cold. For Northern Ireland, looks like southern counties should stay dry. That's the weather.
Good night.
That was Armando Iannucci's Charm Offensive, presented by Armando Iannucci. The guests this week were Clive Anderson, Joe Brand and Chris Langham. It also featured Jim Field-Smith. It was written by Armando Iannucci and John Holmes, Danny Robbins, Ian Martin, Will Smith and Dan Tetzel. And the producer was David Tyler. The programme was a positive production for the BBC.
And you can hear another edition of Armando's show at the same time next week.